Hey everybody, I'm going to show you how to make meatballs today. I'll try and do it in my best New Jersey accent, so yous know how to make meatballs from scratch. You don't have to buy that shit from Quick Check. Contrary to popular belief, people from New Jersey actually don't speak that way. It's that trash that's busted in from Staten Island. So I'll just go with the way I normally do it. All right, these are the things we're going to need. We're going to need a little bit of hamburger meat. Some people use beef, pork, and veal mixed together, but you know, hamburger meat I find works better. We're going to take a little bit of salt. And this is sea salt, but you can use any kind of salt you want. A little bit of Lowry seasoning. This is a plain old piece of white bread that I soaked in water. We've got a little bit of butter, 2 eggs, some breadcrumbs. These are Colonia, whatever. A little bit of extra virgin olive oil, and this is some oregano from my garden from last year. We've got a little bit of basil here, some butter. So let me show you how to put this together. Let's get everything out of the way here. Okay, we've got our bowl here. So in the bowl, what do we put in the bowl? We put our meat in the bowl. Kind of break it up a little bit. It's easier to work with when this is at room temperature. And this is plain old beef. Now to this, we're going to take that wet piece of bread. You don't squeeze the water out of it. Just put it right in there. Shred it up as much as you can. Mash it up with your fingers. You can cut the crust off if you feel like it, but I think it just makes it taste better. You see what I mean? You're just mashing it up. Alright. From this, just had to wipe my hands off there for a second. Now we're not going to over season this because we're going to cook it in the sauce and we want it to pick up a lot of the taste of the sauce. So we'll put about a teaspoon of salt in here. These are all by eye measurements. I'm not going to get crazy with you and say 3/4 of a half of it. We're not going to do that. Just going to make it easy so you can put it in there and just do it by eye. Most of the stuff I do by eye to make it easy. All right, now we're going to put a little bit of the fresh oregano, well actually dried oregano from my garden last year, but it's a lot fresher than the stuff in the store. You don't want to go crazy with oregano because oregano is pretty strong. And then we're going to take our eggs, pop those bad boys in there. Okay, now we've got our basil. I just picked this out of my garden. We're not going to chop it up. We're going to shred it a little bit. So maybe each meatball gets one little piece of basil. You don't want to have like a giant basil flavored meatball. Kind of like a little basil surprise in there. But as subtle as it is, it does give it a nice taste. Now, speaking of being subtle, making meatballs, we're gonna take a hard left here. We're gonna put a little butter in it. I know it sounds weird. We're gonna put a little pinch of just regular old salted butter in there. Now we're gonna give it a couple hands full of breadcrumbs. A little bit of extra virgin olive oil. This down. And just a little bit of water. Now we just mix it up with our hands. We're going to cook these in a cast iron skillet. Some people cook it in with the tomato sauce. I like to cook it beforehand and then add it to the sauce. This way they stay together and you don't have like a big broken meatloaf inside of your sauce pot. Okay, got my hands off again. Let's add some more breadcrumbs. See, the breadcrumbs is what stretches it out, and you get more bang for your buck that way. Okay, let's get all this crap out of the way here. Wash my hands again. Okay. Now you wet your hands, like under the sink, you wet them. Then you just take them and you form your meatballs. About half the size of an egg. And this will be enough to pretty much make a pot of meatballs. You can make meatball subs or spaghetti and meatballs. It doesn't have to be like completely Italian and, you know, all that crazy stuff people try and jam down your throat. You make it the way you like it. This is the way I like it. It doesn't taste like a big ball of fat, and it's actually pretty flavorful, and it tastes really good in tomato sauce. You don't have to use any Parmesan cheese. You don't have to go that route. You don't have to put garlic in it, because all that's going to be in the sauce. Noodles, the cat, is my cat is rubbing up against my leg like I'm going to toss her a meatball. We're buddies, but we're not that close, buddy. Throw me down a meatball, Chief. Not going to happen. Maybe when they're cooked, but we don't have any onions in here. We don't have any crazy spices. Now you see the volume of meatballs we're getting here for that little piece of meat? Then we're going to fry them in the cast iron skillet, and then once they're done, we're going to add them to the tomato sauce. I won't go through the tomato sauce with you. I'm just going to show you how to make the meatballs, and then you can just add it to your own sauce. All right. Get the meat off my hands here so I can shut the camera off, and I'll check back with you in a second. Okay, we're going to cook off our meatballs now. Now you see over here this little thing sizzling in here? That's a little piece of the meatball you put in there. A little piece of the meatball. You put it in there. Now you see how it's slowly cooking and boiling? Then you know your grease is hot enough. Because if your grease isn't hot enough and you put it in the cast iron skillet, it's just going to stick and you're going to have like a funky looking burnt hamburger. So that's what you're looking for. Now we take our meatballs right there. Right on it. Give them a little swirl around. That keeps them from sticking. And you just twist these around so you get it all covered from all sides. Then I usually put a top over it for a little while so it cooks evenly. And then I'll put them in the fridge because I have to go to work today. If I didn't have to go to work, I'd just add them to sauce today. So I'm probably just going to add them to the sauce tomorrow. And I'll have spaghetti and the meatballs. One more time, meatballs. That's how I roll. That's going to be... you see how it's rolling slow? It's just cooking slow. That's what you're looking for. You don't want it like a ton of smoke coming out of here and have it burning. Just a nice slow saute there. Alright, so I'll check back with you when they're done. Okay, we've got a blender here. In the blender what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. We're going to put 2 cloves, large cloves of garlic. We're going to break them up a little bit with our hands. Then we've got some peeled Italian plum tomatoes. Put those bad boys right in there. Twist them around a little bit with 3 leaves of basil. Now to this, got my trusty can opener here. We're going to use some Cento tomato paste. Tomato paste, you know what I'm saying. I love tomato paste, man. I could just eat the shit out of the can. I'm going to put the tomato paste in there. That's going to get us the consistency that we want without having to cook it for 10 hours. All right. Okay, we browned up our meatballs. We didn't burn them, we just browned them up a little bit. We cooked them for around 10 minutes, mixing them around. Then I put a top on it for like another 10 minutes. And this is where the sauce comes in. We have our quick sauce in the blender. We're just going to add that right on in there. Swirl around, mix it up in there, and we're going to cook our meatballs all the way in the sauce. So drop it down to medium heat, kind of swirl them around there, get everything incorporated. And the cast iron skillet imparts iron into the food, which is healthy for you, and it just gives it a better taste. So we're going to let this just roll at medium heat with a top on it for around a half hour. And then we're going to let it roll with the top off for like an additional 20 minutes. That's it. That's how you make meatballs. Later. Okay, I'm going to show you what the end product is. That is the end product. You've got perfect meatballs for around 4 people, and then you just cook your pasta and put this over the top if you're so inclined, or you could put this on a hoagie roll with cheese and have a meatball sub, and that's going to be it. That's how you make meatballs. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. Your name doesn't have to be Luigi to pull it off. Later.